Jonesy and Amanda's cutting room floor. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Jonesy and Amanda's cutting room floor.
Well, Amanda, what is on the cutting room floor today?
I've got an interesting story today about a company that was the world leader, and greed and lack of insight made it disappear into nothingness.
Okay, which company was this?
No, that's all. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, you want more details? Okay.
More deets.
This is about the Kodak company. In 1975, Kodak was the world's most powerful photo company. It was worth, this is in 1975, worth $31 billion. By 2012, they were bankrupt.
Wow.
20 years later, less than 20 years later. Do you want me to tell you what happened?
Well, it's apparent that obviously digital technology overtook the film.
Yes, of course, but they had the digital technology and buried it. That's what's fascinating about this story.
Really?
Yep. So they didn't become bankrupt because of competition or the technology overtaking them.
Yeah.
They made one fatal decision, and it's been called the biggest business mistake in history. So in 1975, Kodak owns photography.
Yep.
90% of film sales worldwide, 85% of camera sales, $10 billion in annual revenue, millions of profit every day. One engineer was about to change everything. A young engineer, his name was Steve Sasson. He walks into the Kodak lab and he says, "I've invented a camera that doesn't need film." The room goes silent. He shows them the prototype. It works perfectly. Their response? Bury it. The executive said, "Buy the patent, we'll own the patent, and we will bury it. We will tell no one." Because film was making them so much money.
Yeah, right.
$15 per roll is what they got from film sales. Why kill the cash cow? That's what they thought. Well, then they go along with that. 1995. Digital cameras flood the market. Other people, they didn't need their patent. Other people are working out how to do the same thing.
They would have invented it.
Their competitors raced to adapt. Kodak's response, they still had this information, still had these patents. They doubled down on film and disposable cameras.
Oh.
Yeah. So by 2005, the numbers were brutal. Digital camera sales exploding, film sales plummeting. Kodak's stock was down 75%, and yet they still held on.
Yeah.
They didn't see the writing on the wall and think, you know what, why don't we make our own digital camera? We've got the information.
But it's too late.
Too late. January 2012, well, it wasn't too late in 2005.
Yeah.
January 2012, they went bankrupt. 28,000 employees were let go. 142 years of history ended because, as they say here, greed made them bury tomorrow.
And Kodak, there is a market these days for film, from hipsters.
But it's novelty.
Yeah, like they're not going to make billions of dollars from hipsters.
The moment's gone.
Coming in for the odd roll of film.
No, it's like people who still buy records. That's never going to be the mainstay of the industry.
But this happened with Netflix and a Blockbuster Video. The Netflix guy went to Blockbuster and said, "I've got this idea. I've got this streaming service." And they went, "On your bike, pal."
Well, did you see that documentary about the BlackBerry? So interesting.
Yes, that's
that was
great.
a great doco. The BlackBerry was the market leader. It had the phone and a little computer with a little keypad, and what they just did not see it coming. Steve Jobs did this. Apple comes in, they put the keyboard onto the screen of the computer.
Yeah.
They put it onto the screen of the phone.
Yeah.
And BlackBerry was saying, no, people will still want to type. They'll still want to blah, blah, blah.
But they stick to it, sticking to your old guns.
Yeah, and they went bankrupt too.
I remember years ago I was doing a McHappy Day. This is probably in the 90s in Brisbane. And I was just talking to the manager of the McDonald's there. And I said, what about this Subway mob? Because up in Brisbane in the 90s, you couldn't get Subway anywhere else in Australia. It was only in Brisbane. I said, what about this Subway mob? Are you worried about them? He goes, who's going to eat salad sandwiches? Subway took over McDonald's. Curiously now,
took over in sales.
In sales.
Are they ahead of McDonald's now?
No, but Subway have fallen off the radar now because they got too big.
Weren't you asked to invest in Boost Juice? You said, who's going to drink juice?
Years ago, a boss of mine came up to her, and you know this guy. He said, have you got to spare 30 grand? And I said, why? And he said, old mate here is starting a business and they just need some ground floor investors. If you've got to spare 30 grand. And I said, well, curiously I do, but I'm buying a Harley Davidson motorcycle.
Wow.
And he said, well, maybe you might want to rethink that. I said, no, I'm going to stick with my Harley because who drinks juice? Versus,
What would 30,000 be worth now?
I think someone did say, and I don't know if this is true or
Here
not.
we go. What'd they say?
Someone said it'd be worth about 70 or 80 million bucks now. Your 30
No.
grand if you kept.
Wouldn't that give you the pip?
If you kept rolling over, if you kept saying, right, here's my 30, and then you
reinvest,
buy it
reinvest,
and you keep
reinvest.
reinvesting. But yeah, I'm not a businessman.
No, well, duh.
I'm not a businessman.
Duh.
Look, I got you to work with me. What sort of businessman am I? Although, what sort of businesswoman are you? Because I just offer you some magic beads.
I still haven't seen them.
Okay, kids, that's it for today. Come back tomorrow for more of Jonesy and Amanda.